Hello and welcome to what I'm calling Tea Time with Kobe. I do want to start off by saying that I don't have the best setup, so if there's background noise, I do apologize. I think someone was mowing their grass earlier. I do have a dog, so if he barks or his collar jingles, I do apologize for that. Also, a little disclaimer, some of the things I'm going to be talking about are some medical mishaps, and some of it can get a little gruesome. So if you think that that might gross you out or it might be a little triggering, I suggest you don't keep watching or you get someone to kind of watch with you. So the tea that I'm drinking today is called peach turmeric herbal tea. I got it about a couple years ago in Fort Worth, Texas from a place called the Spice and Tea Exchange. I really love it because the turmeric in it is an anti-inflammatory, so it kind of helps with my pain level and things like that. So I know I posted over a year ago, and I do apologize I haven't posted since. Things have just been really crazy. I did want to get this video done and pushed out before the end of September because September is Chiari Awareness Month. So without further ado, I will begin my story. I'm also reading off of a script today because I don't remember a lot of the things that happened to me when I was 5. I remember snippets and things, but most of it I consulted with my mom about because she was there and saw everything, and I also kind of looked at my medical records and things like that. So, as a child, I had a very raspy voice. I also ran weird and odd gait, and I would vomit at times for no apparent reason. I also had horrendous headaches. After months of trying to figure out why I was having headaches and having these weird symptoms, I had tons of allergy testing and things like that done. I had an MRI done expecting to see blocked sinuses. After the MRI, my pediatrician called my mom and told her there was good news and bad news. The good news was that it was not a tumor, which was something we didn't even know was a possibility. So, and then she said the bad news was that they found Arnold-Chiari malformation 1 with a very large syringomyelia inside the spinal cord. My pediatrician said that they were very rare and hardly anything was known about it. Now, this was in 1998, so there's been quite a bit of research, lots of progress, and lots of things have been found out about Chiari and syringomyelia, which is great. But it's still pretty rare, and it has such a wide range of symptoms and levels that it's really hard to, it's hard to diagnose, and it's hard to get someone to listen to you because some of the symptoms are really, really weird. The fact that I would vomit at random times for no reason. I'd be fine before and would be fine after, but in the middle, I would just vomit and then it'd be fine. And there's just weird things like that doctors are just I don't know what that is. So, and I still have doctors tell me that they don't know much about it. So, she said, she told us, that it was rare, but that she would, give us the name of a surgeon, in Houston, Texas. And we went there because I lived in Spring at the time, Spring, Texas. Now, Chiari malformation is when part of the brain called the cerebellum at the back of the skull bulges through a normal opening in the skull where it joins a spinal canal. This puts pressure on parts of the brain and spinal cord and can cause mild to severe symptoms. In type 1, the cerebellum bulges through the normal opening at the base of the skull. And syringomyelia was always described to me as a fluid-filled cyst in my spinal cord, almost like a big water balloon filled with spinal fluid. And it was threatening to crush my spinal cord from the inside out, which scary, not good. So I was told by the surgeon that it was going to be one simple surgery and I would be back to normal. Little did I know that was the farthest thing from the truth. The following events took place within a 10-week period from July to September of 1998. I had my first surgery in July of 1998 when I was 5. The operation I had is called a Chiari decompression. Basically, they removed my top vertebrae and they drained the syrinx in my spine. I remember that before surgery, they let you choose kind of how you want to go back to surgery. So like you go back in a wagon, you could just walk, and then, or you could do a tricycle. Well, I decided I was going to ride a tricycle surgery. So, but what was funny, or now it's funny, back then it was probably, terrifying, but, when I was going back to surgery on my little tricycle, I kept running into walls and things because I kept looking back at my parents because I was scared. Another fun thing they let us do as kids is they let you choose your flavor that they kind of put over anesthesia so it's a little more pleasant. Well, it wasn't that pleasant for me because I had the bright idea to mix the flavors. I don't remember exactly what I mixed with. I do think one of them was root beer. I do not recommend that. I do not recommend doing that. And I also learned that they no longer do this for you when you're an adult. That's not fair. Anyways, so I had the surgery and I went home, and about 3 days after surgery, I was at home. I do remember this little snippet. I was laying on our couch bed, like a couch that made onto a bed in our living room. And my mom said I like coughed or sneezed. And then I went, "Mommy, the back of my head is really wet." Well, what had happened was the incision, this is when it gets a little gruesome, the incision on the back of my head had completely burst open and shot brain fluid across the room. So my parents rushed me to the hospital. I also remember getting pulled over by a cop and him having to escort us to the hospital. And I had to go back and have a VP shunt put in because it was discovered that I was hydrocephalic, which being hydrocephalic basically means the cerebral spinal fluid accumulates within the brain. About 3 days after that surgery, my shunt malfunctioned, and they had to go back in for a shunt revision. Then, within a few days, I spiked a fever and was vomiting. I had a CT scan, and it showed the shunt wasn't working. They took me back to surgery. And while I was in surgery, they discovered I also had spinal meningitis. It was caused by Staph aureus, which means somehow someone in the surgery room introduced it into my system. They put an external drain in to get the infection out and put me on massive doses of antibiotics. So I then started developing ulcers, and I was vomiting and passing blood. They then took me back to surgery to have a central line put in for meds and nutritions, to keep me alive. And then one of the first many miracles happened. So later that night, a nurse's aide accidentally snapped the central line, and it broke. And it had to be repaired. So at this time, I had a neurosurgery team, a neurology team, a gastroenterology team, and an infectious disease team all treating me. And then the external drain stopped working. So they scheduled me for surgery to replace it. My mom and Elle, which is how I will refer to the man who fathered me, more on that at a later time in another chapter, were both praying very hard that I would not have to go back into surgery because this would just be another surgery. These drains, from what I've told from medical professionals at the time and everything like that, these drains do not start up again once they stop. They have to be replaced. Well, the drain miraculously began to drain again just before they showed up to take me to surgery. The doctors and nurses that were there were shocked, flabbergasted. The doctors were just like, this can't happen. This isn't possible. It's not medically, scientifically possible for that drain to just start draining again. However, it did, which is one of the many miracles that has caused me to never deny Christ, which is, can be difficult because I get very angry and frustrated with him for all the crap that I've been through in my life. But he has saved me from many things. And this miracle is one of them. So, thankfully, I avoided that surgery. Once the cerebral spinal fluid was clean of spinal meningitis, they removed the drain. However, this is probably the most traumatic experience I had, and I don't remember it. Thank God. But I've been told about it by nurses and by my mom. So they were going to remove the drain, but the surgeon forgot to order the medication that was needed to deaden and, kind of local anesthesia to make me unaware of what was going on, because he had to staple my head. So he proceeded in the hospital room to remove the drain and staple my head because cerebral spinal fluid wouldn't stop leaking out. So nurses held me down. Nurses and other people had to hold me down while he stapled my head 7 times without any kind of numbing medication or pain or anything, because he thought it would be one staple. It would be real quick. This is the same surgeon that told me it'd be one simple surgery. So, even the nurses after that told my mother they'd never seen something so barbaric. And before everybody's like, oh, why didn't you sue him? Well, because it was traumatic. And by the time that we really thought about it, we figured it was too late. So, it was pretty bad. But, after that, we obviously got a new surgeon. I did better for about a week after that. All the signs of hydrocephalus then started to come back. And a new neurosurgeon, put in a new VT shunt, and it hasn't been replaced since. I still have it in my head. There's a little bump over here. And most doctors tell me that it's probably not working because it was one of the old kind that wasn't programmable. It was basically like a rubber duck toy kind of thing. And but they said, if nothing's bad happening, then there's no reason to go after it. So I just basically have something in my head that I don't really need, probably. Sorry, the video kind of cut off there. Anyway, my new neurosurgeon said he felt like I had hospital psychosis because of everything that I had gone through over the past 10 weeks. Along with the other trauma, I had lost 1/3 of my body weight, and I had to go to PT for several weeks to help with walking again. My personality before surgeries was a very bright, happy, joyful, very social, very outgoing. I was a very positive child. I rarely ever had to be told something more than once. After surgery, I was anxious, worried. I was very angry. I got mad really easily. I yelled a lot. Then as I got better, after a few months, I went back to closer to my pre-surgery child disposition. But I would still have, outbursts and meltdowns and things like that. So one would hope that that would be the end of my nightmarish medical experience. However, it was just the beginning. So that will end my first chapter, my medical story. I will continue it in my next video, which I hope to have up within 2, no later than 4 weeks. I'll try really hard. This is new to me. I'm also trying to get used to being in front of a camera. So yeah, but in the meantime, try and take some time to just sit. Sip some tea. And remember, you're still here for a reason. God bless.